Good day, Score FC viewers. Today's video is about the regal North London club of Arsenal FC, one of the oldest teams in English football history. They're in a resurgence and clear upward trajectory in recent years, inspired by their very intense and perfect head manager Mikel Arteta. And in this video we're going to dive deep into the question that's on a lot of Arsenal fans' minds nowadays. Will they actually win a Premier League title with the fanatical Spaniard at the helm? Now, the last time Arsenal won a Premier League was in 2003-2004, that famous year that they went unbeaten with the likes of Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp and Patrick Vieira completely dominating teams around the country, with Arsene Wenger leading the charge with a brand of turbocharged, attacking football that blew opposition teams away. He focused on speed and power in his team, generally deploying a fairly standard 4-4-2 with no huge tactical innovations, more just brilliant players in every position being really good at what they do. Fast forward 20 years and how the world of football has changed. False nines, inverted fullbacks, half spaces, the lexicon and general approach to the game has changed massively. You could make a fairly compelling argument that the famous Moneyball approach from that sort of interesting but kind of crappy Brad Pitt film is largely what's at play here. Money has completely flooded the elite level game, smarter people are involved at every single level, and therefore every tiny element of everything involved in the sport has been forensically studied by experts for optimization, at this point just leading to minuscule incremental gains. And how does that relate to where Arsenal are at now? Well, it's extremely clear even to a casual passerby that Arsenal right now are very much constructed in the laser-focused vision of what Mikel Arteta wants. After being at the club for just over 4 years and constantly moulding and shaping every element around him in his constant strive for perfection. He's a very demanding man, and you get the feeling he's fairly adept at persuading anyone he works with to generally do what he wants. And it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone by now that Mikel Arteta is very much a modern manager, a subscriber of all things progressive in the current iteration of the game. So to get straight to the point, it is our firm belief that Arsenal will win the league with Mikel Arteta. But it won't be this season, it will be next season. Please allow us a few moments to elaborate, and in order to justify that statement, we need to take a few steps backwards. It's clear to every Arsenal fan on the planet that last season, the 2022-23 one, was more fun to watch as a fan than this season. Arsenal played with wild abandon from the first game, bamboozling teams with Zinchenko playing as an inverted fullback, creating a 3-2-3-1 formation that generated overloads that teams just couldn't handle. Add into the mix there was Jesus up front causing chaos, Bukayo Saka stepping up to the world-class level of his output, Martin Odegaard in the form of his life and finally living up to his potential, an extremely long run at being top of the league, and an almost ridiculous amount of wild late winners sending the crowds there and those at home into delirium. It was just a very fun time to be an Arsenal fan. Arteta reunited the club with its fan base. Deep division and erosion had set in during the dark latter years of poor Arsene Wenger and the doomed false start of poor Unai Emery.
Good evening.
And Mikel Arteta came in and literally bulldozed it all down, then rebuilt it back up. He got rid of overpaid wasters like Aubameyang and Ozil, and he instilled discipline, identity, a clear and decisive way in playing, and Arsenal slowly got better, starting with an FA Cup win at the end of his first season. There were definitely bumps in the road along the way, but each year he's been at the club, they've improved. Cut to last season, and for many young fans it was the best season of their lives. Even seasoned veterans of the ancient Highbury days were swept up at times in the emotion of what Arteta had cultivated. It didn't end in glory, but the fans were brought back in a big way. Fun and successful times were guaranteed to be coming, and after another summer of huge outlays including Declan Rice and Kai Havertz joining, for many fans this was supposed to be the year they finally kicked on and won the league for the first time in 20 years. But it hasn't quite worked out that way. Things have been different. The style of play has changed. It seems a little slower, more cautious, more sideways. When opportunities to counter quickly against opponents have presented themselves, Arsenal have often seemed to take a beat and pass backwards, reset, and then go forwards, allowing the opposition a chance to recover. Could Declan Rice replacing Thomas Partey in defensive midfield be a potential cause for that? Rice has clearly been a revelation for Arsenal. He's the closest thing Arsenal have had to Patrick Vieira since, Patrick Vieira. He's undoubtedly one of the best DMs in the world, and is going to be a leader for this team for many seasons to come. But while it's undeniable he improves upon Thomas Partey in both defensive ability and simply being available, it should be obvious to anyone with a trained eye that the troubled man from Ghana is a superior passer between the lines. His vertical passes to Odegaard and Saka last season were a constant originator of chances, and while Rice definitely is trying to add this to his already impressive footballing repertoire, and he will likely eventually get there, it seems clear he just isn't capable of this currently, and the team does suffer for it. But is there more to Arsenal's struggles this year? Many say they just need a goal scorer up front with presence, but it might not be that simple. This Arsenal front three of Martinelli, Jesus and Saka have an uncanny resemblance to the great title-winning Liverpool front three of Mane, Firmino and Salah. Flying wingers who invert and regularly get double figures in goals, and a selfless, skilled Brazilian workhorse up front who is world-class at linking play and creating chaos, who doesn't really score that many goals but is a big reason why the rest of the team do. See what I mean? Arsenal didn't have a big man up front last season, and they scored 103 goals in total, including a club record 88 in the Premier League. And much of this was with Nketiah or Trossard up front because Jesus was injured. With Odegaard scoring for fun, Thomas Partey actually being available, and Granit Xhaka just killing it in midfield, Arsenal was sharing the goals around brilliantly and destroying teams of style. So why aren't they still doing that this year? There's a few answers to that question. When you have success and get better, other teams start to get a lot better against you. They try harder. They invest more in analysts and work on more custom tactics against you. They study your past games more to hone in on the perceived areas of weakness. And against Arsenal, that usually means a very low block with two sets of four just camped out in their own half. Any team in the world would struggle against that, and this current iteration of Arsenal team haven't really faced that on a consistent basis before. And this has resulted in games that just aren't that fun to watch, where Arsenal have a ton of possession but don't really do anything with it. Sure, it's a lot of control, but is it the true dominance that Arteta is seeking? Could swapping out Granit Xhaka for Kai Havertz in the summer be a contributing factor to this season's kind of strange sense of malaise? He's a very different type of player to Xhaka, and maybe he's taken a little while to adapt to what the team requires of him. Some Arsenal fans might even feel a little more disconnected from the players this year when compared with last year. Kai Havertz is yet another player ported over from Chelsea, and we know how most of those transfers have gone. David Raya is in for fan favourite Aaron Ramsdale, and even small things like the Ashburton Army fan section in the stadium having their seat allocation reduced from 100 last season to 50 this year do make a difference. Some fans just aren't feeling as bought in as they were last year, which does help to explain what many are feeling. The reality is that Arsenal are right up there at the top of the Premier League, and they're into the knockout stages of the Champions League and heavily favoured against opponents Porto. If you had explained this current situation to any Arsenal fan just 2 years ago, they probably would have looked at you with a concerned look, taken a couple of steps back, and then questioned whether you needed to go and visit a nearby insane asylum. Arsenal are an elite team right now, probably one of the best 5 in the world. Ahead of them are very clearly Man City, Real Madrid, probably Bayern Munich, maybe Liverpool, maybe an Italian team, but not a lot else. And crucially, they have that one intangible thing that is so hard to grasp in professional sports, let alone maintain. That priceless commodity that we all seek, momentum. They have smart and talented people employed at every level of the club, a young and hungry manager who does still need more experience but he is improving, and a young squad that's about to reach its peak in the next season or two. And don't forget that for all the Super League crap, they do seem to have owners that are serial winners at every sport they dip their toes in, and they do seem genuinely committed to spending whatever it takes to get Arsenal to the top of the game. This season probably won't happen. The mix just isn't right. The Jurriën Timber injury at the start of the season was a huge blow as he was destined for a key role, probably replacing Zinchenko at left back. This, and Thomas Partey's continued unavailability, has deprived Arteta of the unpredictableness he believed was the next step in Arsenal's evolution. And on top of that, they just haven't seemed to click up front. Liverpool have miraculously come back from the dead to become amazing again in Klopp's last dance, and a return in Kevin De Bruyne with a sick Samson haircut.
Hair's looking magnificent. Looking amazing. The hair, fucking brilliant. You're welcome, man.
Along with that robotic goal-scoring maniac Erling Haaland, are most likely going to propel Man City to 18 straight wins or something ridiculous. So one of those two will probably win the league. But Arsenal will strengthen again this summer, that is undeniable. Arteta will demand it of the owners. and they will look into his handsome and kinda scary dark eyes and cower to his will. Such is their confidence that he is the chosen one, who is destined to bring Arsenal back to being in regular contention for the serious trophies. FA Cups are fun every now and again, but they're not the ones Arsenal fans really want. A striker and or winger will probably come in this summer, whether it's Osimhen, Tony, or someone sexy and exciting who appears completely out of the blue, announced by that here we go merchant Fabrizio Romano on Twitter. Every player in the squad will be a year older, smarter, better, and crucially the team will be in their absolute prime. And next season, Arsenal will win the Premier League. We'll even go so far as to get needlessly specific and exclusively reveal that Arsenal are going to win it with 93 points, with Man City their closest challengers at 90 points. Liverpool are going to suffer the classic promising up-and-coming manager completely fails after succeeding legendary manager and ruins his career thing and finish 6th, with Salah probably being sold to the Saudi League in the January transfer window. Place your bets now, dear listeners, and when you collect those sweet, sweet winnings, please remember to look up into the sky and nod wistfully as you silently thank our completely underpaid and underappreciated interns who produce these strange little videos. Goodbye.